Hey, and welcome. Hey, and welcome, you guys. I hope everybody is doing okay. Before we get started, please do all of the things like the video, comment down in the comment section. Please share this video where you share your videos because sharing is caring. Subscribe, please, please, please. Keep those notifications turned on because, baby, you just never know. And the Venmo and Cash App are both there in case you want to put a little something in the tip jar for your girl since, I'm still not quite monetized. That said, let's get right into this thing and bring this baby on home, y'all. Okay, boys to men, again, another one. We have made it to the end of the road. We are here for Married to Medicine, season 11, episode 18, I believe. This is the reunion part 3, y'all. So if you'll remember where we left off, the men were sitting on the stage talking about the whole vibe check situation when Curtis pipes up, and then we go backstage and the women's like they really, really getting into it. So Quad is questioning, like at this point, the ladies are basically separated, but Quad is questioning what karma to Toya. Like, we've been in a far worse position. Like, why would she say something like that? All she had to do was talk to me because Toya's trying to explain to her, like, she felt like you left her. And Toya says, at least she told you how she felt. I said, and she did. And it's been a long time coming. And it just looks awful. It looks really, really bad for Simone. I don't know how you recover from this. I used to really like Simone. I used to think Simone was real and Simone was authentic. But at this point, I've just honestly had enough. It's like you have this hard on for somebody for I'll say no reason. I'm sure she feels like she has a reason, but child, it's just too much for me. Moving right along, like I said, I think that's when Toya reiterates that she felt you weren't there, so she befriended T. Mimi's saying, you're healing, she's healing. And then they're just trying to get her to breathe it out, and we're onward and upward. Quad's like, this is exactly what I didn't want to happen, where we're blowing up at each other. And Quad, baby, you have been trying to be the peacemaker this season, or try to be on your P's and Q's and be good. You've been trying to be good when it comes to the ladies. The little thing you did with G, I don't really care too much about, but sometimes you got to let the hoes have it. It's 2.5 minutes, but it is. Sometimes you got to let them have it. So moving right along, like I said, the ladies are in 2 separate rooms at this point. So in a separate room, we got Jackie, we got Simone, and we've got T. That because they literally pulling Simone into this other room, Jackie and T. Only for Jackie to turn around and put T out and like just give us a moment, please. Which I wasn't mad at because Jackie and Simone, Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone are sincerely friends on and off the show. They've known each other for some time, and I feel like Letitia may have only made the situation worse. So I was fine with them, with her putting her out. And Simone is really upset. Simone is like, she was only there when the cameras were there. She is real upset, baby, that girl done brought up her daddy, which I said, do you remember last reunion when you brought up her niece, I believe it was? She didn't want you to do it, but you still kept going? Yeah, that part. So she's like, no text, no call, visit, or nothing. And Jackie is trying to calm her down. I get what it feels like. I totally get it if you feel like someone isn't being a friend to you. But at the end of the day, it just doesn't look like Simone knows how to be a friend either, to put it quite frankly. She's had a lot of hurt and pain from what I do not know, but she definitely, definitely needs to go ahead and work on that thing. Back on stage with the fellas, King is telling G, listen, Quad wasn't disrespectful to you. She wasn't disrespectful. She wasn't rude. She didn't tell you to shut the F up. And G's like, yeah, but she's, shitting all over my marriage. Sir, temper. I try to teach my sons this. People will aggravate your nerves. And sometimes you do have to put them in their place, but sometimes you just have to learn that you cannot take everything personally or fight every single battle. And this is just a matter of, you ain't treat her right. You knew how you were. You turn around doing the same thing to this wife, which we brought that up on another episode. Yet here we are. So the viewers want to know why G told King, He said Quad talks too much. He admits that it was stupid, and Andy asked like if there's a diagnosis, and he said he was inebriated. Sir, you are far too little to be partaking of the spirits quite that much. So we start talking about we're talking to Steve. Playing 6 years of pro football, Steve has seen some friction, but never three fights at the same time. At the same child, can you hear my child's tablet in the background? Hold on one second, y'all. Okay. Hopefully it's not too distracting. I can just hear it, and sometimes I know the microphone can pick up some things. I've kind of trying to learn to sit back from the mic a little bit when I can't hear myself, because on the replay sometimes it sounds like I'm hollering to y'all. Anyway, getting back into the thing. Eugene says they were only on that island for 22 minutes. I said, well, god darn, ain't that about nothing? You said it was gonna be a fight to the death. Who do you think would have won? G says he is half his age and twice his size. I said, I'm glad you know, sir. I'm glad you freaking know. But now he says that baby, both of them would have been able to take him. I said, oh, really? Leticia says she's combat trained, Eugene is pointing out. I said, these people are a whole fool. And I was glad at this moment that they were, able to talk it out and kind of joke about it. But it don't last for too long. So we go on over to this argument and the hot mic moment that we had between Leticia and Dr. G. And Andy asked, like, now that you've seen that, do you regret it? And he says he does, and he owes her an apology. And King is kind of pointing out that it's a pattern of aggression towards women. You spoke to Leticia poorly, and you had an air of familiarity with Quad, and I had to set a boundary, child. So Andy talks about Gregory pressing charges. And King is like, listen, it was hysterical. Like, I had to call the station. It was laughable. And they said, not to waste your time. Basically, that's what I guess they was trying to tell Dr. G, that there were no charges. But Gregory says he dropped the charges. Like, he's adamant that he dropped the charges. Dr. Heavenly, I think, talked a little bit more about it on her live, that I guess maybe in the state of Georgia, there's such a thing as attempted assault, but not in the state of Florida, which was technically where they were, baby. I don't care nothing about it. Okay. You challenged me and then you got in your feelings when I stood up to you. This is what King is saying. G, no, I stood up to you. You were trying to bully me. Dr. G. So King says you approach me, and G says you initiated the conversation. So they give the playback or the flashback of the last interaction where King was approaching them saying they need to talk. But what y'all didn't play is before that, G had approached him, I believe, more than once. Y'all could correct me if I'm wrong. Politely, please. Por favor. So Andy is asking him, listen, do you guys think you could move forward? And G says he doesn't think so because, King has a tarnished opinion of him. But King says, listen, I came into the group with an open mind, but I had to address the way you spoke to Quad. I see no problems with that. But Dr. G is not that type of guy. He's not built like that. So Curtis is like, listen, you apologize to him. All that's left is for you to apologize to Quad. Well, G says he needs an explanation of why he should apologize when she hasn't. King says there was no disrespect. She was going back and forth with T. Dr. G, he's always trying to put the situation together. He says, listen, okay? Listen, Linda. Did I crop that like that? I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the picture. I did that, huh? I guess. Anyway, I'm just looking at the way I put Married to Medicine. I thought when it was on the slide, it was a little better than that. Anyway, Dr. Eugene says, being a man, even when women say something and you don't agree, there is something to be said for taking the higher ground. But sir, Greg is too little. He can't reach. Do you think you should have said that? I think is what Eugene was saying to him. And G is like, listen, I was a night, needed to be said, baby, shaking my whole entire head. Okay. Eugene says, he would have had a hard time given the situation, but G just can't admit to it at all. I ain't have no hard time. I ain't have no problem. I ain't really care. I ain't feel no ways. It's just all BS and blah, blah, blah. Cecil tries to get him to accept it, and baby, all the men look a tad bit frustrated. I cannot lie. They look like this ninja. Like, we keep trying to get you on the right path, and all of these men aren't perfect by far. Cordell isn't perfect by far. They're flawed also, but it's like they're trying to get him to understand one central thing, and Dr. G just isn't with it. So they go backstage, and the ladies are kind of filling the fellas in as to the happenings between Quad and Simone before everybody heads back on out. I really just realized it's my little razzle dazzle that's cutting the words off, y'all. We just gonna have to go with it. My little razzle dazzle is cutting it off. So Andy is bringing up, once everybody's back on his stage, he wants Quad and Simone to explain. Quad wants Simone to explain what she meant by karma, because he's like, maybe she got it wrong. And Simone says, listen, I'm tired of constantly hearing what we did, okay, with bringing G back, because what did you do? You weren't comfortable, didn't trust us. What were we supposed to do? And I said, I guess that's kind of fine when you put it in that perspective. You guys can agree the point down in the comment. But I feel like for me, it's just the who of it all. Like, if you have a friend that you truly feel has abandoned you, okay, this is more of a show relationship, in my opinion. But if you truly have a friend that you feel has abandoned you and you would like to move on to another friendship or another relationship or to try something else, I'm like, okay, that's cool. But for you to double back and for it to be Dr. G, knowing their history doesn't sit too well with me. So Simone says that Cecil and Greg have been friends the whole time. Well, the men can be friends. That's fine. That's never affected the ladies. They can do their own thing. It don't need to incorporate you. But Quad feels like, there's some get back there, especially when you're saying this in the name of karma. Quad, you're not wrong. Don't let the lady try to gaslight you. So she says she doesn't know how they got there. And she's asked before, and she's told her to let her know what she did so she could be accountable. She has her things with Simone too. Like I said, I appreciate Quad, speaking up and trying to, come with the humble. And, she got spicy when she needed to get spicy, which we, appreciate. But she was trying to be rational and work it out, because one thing I don't like is just to continue on and on and on. And that's what Simone has done. You've had a problem with Quad for quite some time. So here we are. That's why I laugh at her now wanting to be buddy buddy and be on YouTube with Letitia, because it's only a matter of time. So Quad apologizes and Simone says she's done. And then I think Andy does get Simone to accept the apology or something like that, child. So Heavenly interjects, and then she apologizes to Contessa, which at first I was like, do we really need this? Okay. She says she knows she didn't want to put the friends in the position that she did, and she wants a truce for the sake of the friend group. So Andy says, it's good to see Quad on stage with a partner. It's been like quite some time. A viewer says, damn the Rolls Royce. When is he going to put a ring on it? So Andy asks, what the timeline is. And King says there's no pressure, no rush. It's coming, to soon come. He knows her ring size, and she will be surprised. But she's confident in her man. She says she ain't, made no decisions or told him what this ring is supposed to look like. It's good when you have somebody like that knows you well enough to just pick and do the right thing. And, you just have this great relationship. I love that for her. All that we've seen, I keep saying that all the time, all that we've seen, he seems like a good guy. And I hope that that's the case, because, she definitely deserves that. So, baby, we're going to talk about this Key West trip. They give us the flashback, and the flashbacks are quite cringy, okay? We talk about Simone fixing the festivities, a.k.a. the kayak race by having a professional athlete on their team, better known as Steve. So our viewer wants to know what the vibe was that they was getting it in 15 times. Quad says, happy vibes, good vibes, appreciation. He makes her feel good, make me feel good. Halle Berry. So they talked to Curtis about their numbers, and he says, they've had a slight increase, baby. Blink, blink, child, I guess. A viewer asked Quad if perhaps, she was a little tipsy letting it all hang out. Are we blaming it on So she said she wasn't trashing him, just speaking highly of her man. Initially, no. You weren't. Did get to a point where there were some unsavory things said, but we're gonna let you have it because it was a little bit of a back and forth. Andy says it seems like there's some unresolved things between Quad and G, and that King and T are kind of caught in the middle. Both G and Quad agree. Hallelujah. Andy's asked if there's anything that Gregory would like to say to Quad, as an apology, perhaps. He says, he wasn't in his normal emotional state outside of that situation. So when she said what she said, he responded in a non-typical way. And because of that, I will apologize, sir. I guess Quad accepts it. So, like I said, Quad is playing nice in the sandbox, and I cannot be mad. Quad says, listen, speaking highly of King has nothing to do with you, but also at the same time, I cannot coddle your emotions. I said, say that, sis. Say that. T says that's fair. Y'all, I just want to get this up here. I hate to do this on camera. I've been trying to pause it as not to flip through everybody. I just want to put this picture of these fools up here. Look at them. And I think T got this up on her YouTube. Look at this picture of her standing over this little man like that. Let's just let that marinate for a little bit. I've been giving y'all the good visuals of Quad, but we gonna let that marinate a little bit. Since I done made these slides, y'all gonna look at these slides. And T says that's fair. She just would like her not to mention her husband. Quad's like, I wasn't. I wasn't. Anytime Gregory's name is brought up, or even like a whiff of Greg, T is like a bloodhound, baby. It's just too much. So G feels like she was being negative when she said that she left him, but Quad points out T was the one that brought it up. She started it, my man. I just finished it. So Quad feels that it was childish and vindictive for him to press charges, and that he really wanted them out of the group, and did. Andy asked Damon about the unwritten rule of, the men and the women and, all of the things. So Damon says basically the bottom line is none of the men are going to let you talk crazy to their wives, because they was trying to make it seem we talking about aggression and physicalities. And it's like, you can walk a very fine line with that. You might say the right thing. You might say the wrong thing. So that was the bottom line. And G says, yeah, but if your mate is walking around insulting people, and King's like, she didn't insult you. But G says he felt he's insulted. Very narcissistic in his approach to things. Quad says, he needs to get over it. G brings up the baby shower comment, and he's like, you supposedly left me. Quad says, and I did, and did. We all saw the show, sir. Why are you trying to rewrite history? I gave you everything in the divorce. I could have came after you for cash. I didn't get anything. What type of man says I didn't get anything in the divorce? A B-A-N. That's what type, okay? Quad says she helped him build his practice. Baby, let's move on from it now. Let's move on. So they're asking the men, do they agree that if a man speaks to your woman sideways, you're supposed to step up, and speak up for your woman? And the men say yes. I think all the men said yes. Cecil adds, but yes, he doesn't believe that his wife can say anything to you, but you can't say anything to her. Baby, I'm 50-50 in that. Part of me says yeah, part of me says no. Like in the situation of King, I kind of agreed with King, because Quad don't really, that one time she did, but Quad don't really say too much. So if she does say something, it's a matter of whether you feel like it hurt your feelings or not. Not whether, she actually says something malicious. I don't know. I want to get into it. Like I said, I feel 50-50. Y'all get down in the comments and let me know how you feel. Heavenly says she doesn't agree and thinks that there are different rules. If you say something to me and I tell you, if I say something to you and you tell me I talk too effing much, shut the F up, Damon isn't going to hear you. I agree with that. Everything before that is going to be negated when you tell me to shut the F up. So Cecil says that's valid, but he says, he may also feel that there are things that are a dig that they don't. Baby, it's too much. Toya says, he started it when he said he don't give a damn what you think. I said, Toya, not you. I mean, I'm fine. Go ahead, girl. At least you taking up for Quad. T calls it a double standard and let's agree to disagree. Toya says, disagree. You know, you may be used to how he deals with you, but we're not. I said, oh, baby. So then again, Andy brings up the hot mic moment, and Eugene says, they be lying if they said they never said something in private. And Heavenly cuts him off and is like, you making a lot of excuses if you want. My husband has never talked to me like that. Baby, they show that flashback of Damon getting Heavenly together slightly, and I was like, this is not comparable. In my eyes, it wasn't comparable. And yes, I know I'm Team Heavenly, but just by looking at the evidence, he did not look like he was giving her that action the same way Jesus said things to Quad or Jesus saying things to T at all. So Andy says, Greg apologized privately, but he wants to do it publicly. You're my whole heart. I love you. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I need to get my Dr. G voice on good, y'all. It's okay. I'm just so exhausted with this man. So T tries to say, that we're getting the real, but King interjects and says, like, it's not normal behavior, baby. It's not normal. So G says that they're learning each other, and T says it's normal. It's their normal, and it's not for you to comment on. I guess. Contessa's like, you haven't had rough conversations before? And Toya's like, yes. But then I realized that we needed to go talk to someone. So, I feel like she needs to do the work. T says that they're doing the work and that they're in counseling, baby, not you. When I say this, I am an advocate for therapy, okay? But you in counseling after year one, like y'all supposed to still be in the honeymoon phase. But I digress. Andy asks T if she wants to move forward in the group. Can the four of you coexist? T says yes. Quad says she doesn't want to put them in a compromising position, so she can't say for sure. I get that. And I feel like Greg was the biggest factor in that, because had he not did the whole police report thing, I think we would have been okay. I think we could have coexisted, been on different sides of the room, really, just did things that way. But child, here we are. Andy gives Greg the floor. Baby, why for? Andy, I blame you. You was getting a good kiki, not you doing to people like that. Greg unbuttons his button-down shirt. He got an access to the money shirt underneath. Everyone's like, oh, nah. He put on his Kango. The Kango says, I'm free. I just set me free. I want to be free. From the baby, it was painful. Okay. T's fool behind is sitting there in the chair jamming as if he's not singing about his ex-wife of 7 years. Baby, Tink Tink, keep up. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Contessa says it's worse in person. I said cringe. It's very, very cringy. So the fellas leave the stage, and backstage, Damon's like, I might have said too much. Eugene was like, certain words can be triggering to a man. Toya's like coward. That was the one. Of course, Heavenly agrees with what he said and him expressing himself. And Eugene is just trying to get him to understand, like, it could have gone another way. Like, that could have been an ass whooping as if it had been, anybody else. And I think Heavenly was kind of thanking him for never saying nothing crazy to Damon. It was funny because Toya was like, cause I done raised my man better than that. That's not exactly what she said, but it was just a cute, funny moment. And I can appreciate, when the fellas are getting along and when the ladies are getting along, and it's just light shade. And baby, speaking of shade, we get flashbacks of shady moments. And Andy asks Mimi, has anyone gone too far? Yes, why Heavenly has. She cuts below the belt. They're working on tone and delivery, amongst other things. Heavenly says she receives it. So they were asking, I think Andy asked Simone if there's anybody that could learn to take a joke better. Simone's like, no, we can all learn to take a joke better because, after all, I get a little offended too. I said, I'm glad that's what you said, Simone, because you showed your whole black ass not too long ago. So I'm glad you trying to have some awareness at this point. That's why I laughed that she said DOA. Day of accountability, because she is not really been doing what needs to be done. So a viewer talks about Jackie's shade and wants to know, Andy asks, who is Who has fallen cornbread? Heavenly said, she done pick hers up, so she ain't talking about me. Jackie pleads the fifth. Silent assassin, Jack over there. Quad because Andy said something about she said her cakes was tight and sitting right or something like that. Quad said she got that pretty round. And I said, I know that's right, pretty round. She did her little dance. I was doing it was funny because I did the same thing. I said, y'all can never make me hate Miss Quad, baby. Okay, not at all. So a viewer talks about Toya's Birkin party and her calling Jackie boring. We're just going through a couple of little things. Toy got her little digs. Andy says he wants to play a game of Who Said It. Heavenly don't want to play because all of the shade was coming from her. And Simone says, it's healthy to have a little shade. Yes, it is. It is. Because y'all are all shady. And that's why when y'all get real bad, it just makes the viewing experience not quite so nice. So Andy said he wants to end on a positive note, child. So he's asked Heavenly to say something nice to T. She said she loves that she was strong enough to show up, okay? She loves and supports her man the same way that she does Damon, essentially, and that she goes hard for him. T says she respects and appreciates the same about her, and they some two hard bitches. I said, yeah, I guess, y'all. Andy asked T to say something nice about Quad. She says she hopes that she's happy with King and wishes them the best and a merry way with the IVF, and that maybe they can connect on that. And y'all could. And let me say this, because I don't know if I've made it clear. I think I have. Love Quad. Love Miss Quad. Love her down bad. Okay. Not the biggest fan of T, but my biggest thing with T is the drama between Heavenly and Quad. If not for that, I don't think as an individual, as a person, she ain't my cup of tea, but I don't think that she's a bad person. And I don't think that she's really deserving of being with somebody like Dr. G, other than that's what she want. That's what she chose, because y'all was on my ass. Like, she picked them. She slid in the DMs. She did. So I just want to say that, yes, you and Quad could get along, and if you and Quad could get along, that would be beautiful. But if y'all can't, as long as y'all are not beefing, I'm cool. I don't got no problems with T like that. She's girl, you really a non-factor, okay? You want to do old shade. You really are not. Kira, let it go. That's not nice. Anyway, Quad says sounds good, and she receives it. Andy asked if she can say something nice about T. She said, if they got to know each other, they find commonalities in where their lives are going. Yes, because y'all the young ladies in the group. Okay, Carrie about to do it again. T agrees and receives it. So Andy asks Contessa to say something nice about Heavenly. She's gorgeous. You look stunning today. Heavenly says, you're right. Jackie says, it takes all of them to hold the group together, and everybody has a special place. Andy asked Mimi, child, let me get up a picture of Mimi. Y'all gonna look at the rest of these pictures before we get on out of here. So we seen that one before. Beautiful, because I updated some of that. Seen that one, yes, that one. Check, that one, check. Okay, speaking of Mimi, let's look at Mimi and Steve. There we go. He asked Mimi if she's excited to move forward with the group, and she says yes, everyone is very welcoming, and she likes that they can reconcile. Yes, but like I said, Simone is the only one that's kind of past reconciliation for me. I just am not feeling Simone, and I hate that for me, and I hate that for the show. So Andy, he's kind of doing a vibe check. Toya says she's feeling better than when she came, and she's ready to go and turn up with Jackie. And Simone says, now we about to go to sleep. I said, Lord, have mercy. So we get, hold on, I think we've seen all the pictures. Yeah. Hold on a second, y'all. As we wrap this thing up, Andy asks Simone to lead them in a toast, and she expresses her appreciation for everybody. She's saying nothing will ever come between her and Jackie. She apologizes to Quad. She tells Heavenly essentially not to change. Mimi, welcome to the wild ride, boo. Toya, she's ready to see the new house, and for Eugene, that have some good wine, Eugene, to make that food. Toya says everyone is invited. Girl, are they? T, through all the BS, we genuinely care for one another. And welcome back, Contessa. We cheers, and baby, that is the end. Part 3 has concluded. Season 11 is a wrap. I'm excited to have them back for episode for season 12. You guys get down in the comments and let me know what you thought of this third and last part of the reunion. It kind of took a little downturn because after we had the whole thing, I was ready for the confrontation between King and G, or even, I was fine with Quad and T and Heavenly, but that confrontation between Simone and not Toya, Quad just put me in a bad way, and I didn't like it at all. Left a bad taste in my mouth. But that aside, 3 parts, we made it through parts. The season wasn't too bad. Started off kind of slow. We picked up a little bit. We got into, a rough patch in the middle there. I hate when we are constantly repeating themes and arguments and stuff like that. Glad that Phaedra's gone. That clears the playing field. I don't really want G and T to come back. That's just my personal feeling. If they do, we can make the show work. I'm okay with seeing Mimi come back and the rest of the ladies. And I just want them to get it together a little bit. Still one of my favorite shows. I want them to get it together a little bit. It was one of the more shakier seasons, I must admit, but I still enjoyed it. I hung it out, stuck it out, all of those things. And I just want you guys to get that in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are on it. If you guys are interested in reality TV, I will also be doing the Never Ever Met as a panel with some of the other ladies. So be sure to check that out and just, stick around the channel. I will definitely have more content for you guys. I always appreciate you guys for coming through ever so kindly. And I hope that I will see you in, it's been a wild ride. Thank y'all for sticking this one out for me and ending Married to Medicine. And hopefully I will see you good people in the next video. Peace.